I love this guy, man. I do. I do love him. I do love him.
What an answer.
I do love him. Okay, let's take it one at a time. He blurred his background. He doesn't want us to know where he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Blurred the background.
Sad enough. He's blurred the background. Everybody else didn't blur their background. He's the only blurred background.
Yeah.
Okay.
Looked like he was on a deck or something. It looks like
You know
like
what?
tree.
He could.
Maybe.
foliage.
Right?
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay. You know, Brian Anderson is a longtime Brewers announcer, so I'm sure they, the BAAR thing was, not just
I think
him
he's
being
meant
familiar
to,
just for the sake of it. They, so and I just I love the I'm offended sweatshirt or T-shirt or whatever it was. I'm offended.
perfectly cut above the.
That's great.
the
No, that's
screen,
great.
right?
And I don't know if that is his indication that he was offended by anything that the Packers have said or done. Most recently, the complicated fella comment from Mark Murphy, or the he's divided the fan base comment from Mark Murphy, in between which those two comments Mark Murphy said, the less said, the better. Or maybe he's poking fun at the media, which is reading into everything like he's blurred his background.
Right. His hair slicked back. Like, what's going on?
He's been doing that lately, too, and it's
I know.
great. And by the way, he has lived his life like that. Like,
Hell yeah, man.
hell yeah, I'm hanging with the tellers
He's
and
earned it.
my fiance.
Yeah.
I'm chasing waterfalls and
Smoking Pacalolo, bro.
whatever. Whatever he's doing, it's great. Whatever he's doing. But did you hear also said, and also be an NFL player, too? He's an NFL player, not a Jeopardy host.
Right.
He's an NFL player. He's
Veteran
not
in this
retiring.
league,
He's not
yeah.
going anywhere. Every single time he speaks, we want some sort of definitive answer. He gives us nothing. Nothing. To use the Khan phrase from the Wrath of Khan, let them eat static. That's what we're doing as he turns the heat up. Meanwhile, James Jones, my colleague in the NFL Network, the NFL Media Group, he's saying he could fix this thing. I mean, he's not saying I alone can fix it. He hasn't done the whole Trump thing, but he's saying he can fix this thing. He can get in the room. He can get Aaron Rodgers in the room. Who's told him it's fixable. Now he also says it's complicated, which means it's complicated and yet fixable. I don't know. I would love it to be fixable. I'd love it to be fixable. Because I'll tell you this. There's no question in my mind, if Aaron Rodgers wants to win a Super Bowl in 2021, the place to be is Green Bay. Now, he has every right to sit there and say his opponent in Montana on July the 6th and his opponent in the NFC Championship game in Lambeau Field went elsewhere after 2 decades and won it all. Denver does not have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Denver does not have an offense where he could bring his tight end buddy in that he won championships with. That's not there. They do have an old school warhorse defensive head coach. I mean, Bruce Arians is an old school warhorse offensive head coach.
True.
Brady also went there in the spring. Aaron's going to have to go there if he gets his way, if this is what he wants, which is an exit visa to a spot where he can have his Peyton Manning finish and he can have his Brady finish as a fellow GOAT quarterback, right? He could do that. I don't think Denver is Tampa 2.0 roster-wise. Now, look, I saw Tampa 1.0 roster-wise 2 weeks before the end of the 2019 season. I called their game against the Houston Texans when the Texans won the division, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers watched Jameis Winston start the game with a pick six that got called back, only to throw another one, actually, that didn't, and then finish the game by throwing an interception to wrap the game up. And talk about how things can change, snap cut now to the current moment. The Bucs are the defending world champs, and the Houston Texans and Deshaun Watson are in the proverbial world of poop that Private Pile once talked about. So anything can change. But the best spot for Aaron Rodgers to win it all in 2021 is also the spot where he is familiar with everything that goes on. Maybe too familiar. So the latest on all of this is there is no latest. I don't know what my friend James Jones is talking about, that he can get in a room and fix it. Like what? What's to fix? What's to fix that the head of the entire organization and the grocery shopper who, despite starting the clock on Rodgers' endgame scenario that Rodgers didn't see coming, has gotten the full vote of confidence from the head of the organization. Those two guys apparently have flown off. Like what needs to be fixed? That's the question that James Jones says he can go in and fix it. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't understand it. The best place for him to win is in Green Bay. Certainly, I shouldn't say that. Certainly, if Denver's the other option, with all due respect to Denver, and he can go there and he can make some chicken salad out of whatever the offense has looked like the last few years, and he can make the greatest chicken salad in the history of chicken salad. He can do that. But Mike Evans and Chris Godwin went to the Pro Bowl together the year before Brady showed up, and Gronk walked in through the door, and Antonio Brown walked in through the door, and Leonard Fournette walked in through the door. And Arians already is attached to the hip of the quarterback. I mean, Vic Fangio is not. So I think it gets fixed just because I think this is the best case scenario, and then it'll be a swan song. I mean, there's no question about that. Certainly if Rodgers doesn't sign a huge deal to come back, which I think needs to happen in order to save face and fix it. But that also didn't look like a guy who cared about saving face. He was just caring about blurring his background. And wearing a sweatshirt for us to talk about it, because that's all he wants right now. Just turn up the heat. Keep turning it up. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.